B.Sc.1 Semester 1, paper number GLB 101. Name of the paper is Structural Geology. For the first semester, there are two papers. One between them is Structural Geology. Today, we are going to learn what is Structural Geology and the contents in this paper of Structural Geology. Introduction. What is structural geology? We are going to learn the definition of structural geology. According to Billing, structural geology is the study of architecture of rock as it has resulted from deformation. All the structural features which are formed in the rocks are resulted due to deformation. Deformation means any kind of wear and tear that occurred due to tectonic forces or any other causes like erosion in the rock. And some structures are formed as a result of deformation. These structures are very important part of structural geology, and we are going to learn these structures further in this paper. Another definition of structural geology is it is a study of origin, means how these structures originate, what are the forces responsible for origin or formation of these structures, then their occurrence, where does any one particular structure occurs in the rock, then its classification, means whether it is genetic or any other kind of structure, that is the classification of the structures. Then their types. If we take a fold, for example, there are different kinds of folds which are formed due to different types of forces in different manner. So their types and their effects on the rock in which they are formed, all these aspects are studied in structural geology, right from the origin of the particular structure to its effect on the rock formation. We are going to study all these aspects in this paper. Means everything about structure will be studied in structural geology. What are the structures? These are the features which are created due to deformation of the rock. There are two different types of structures, that is planar structures and linear structures. What are planar structures? This is the definition. It is called as cystosity or foliation, and it results from ductile flattening of the grains. Means the grain which is originally rounded, it gets flattened due to the action of particular force, or it is called as stress. When this flattening occurs in the original rounded grains, which may be of quartz or calcite or any other mineral, it forms a planar structure. Or in some cases, for example, in minerals like mica, it causes change in orientation or direction of the mineral. They get oriented in one particular direction. It is called as unidirectional arrangement of the minerals, and the resulting structure is called as planar structure. For example, cystosity or foliation. Platy minerals and their parallel arrangement results in foliation. The another type of planar structure is foliation. Foliation means the structure which is formed by folias. Folias means nothing but layers. a layered arrangement of a particular rock, and it occurs especially in metamorphic rocks, and it is called as foliation. It is also a planar structure. In this paper of structural geology, we are further going to study different structures like beds, cleavages, folds, faults, joints, dikes, unconformities. All these are planar structures. The second type of structures is linear structure. What is the difference between planar structure and linear structure? In the planar structure, there is only one plane. There is no intersection of two different planes. But in linear structure, there is intersection of two planar structures. For example, when two fault planes intersect each other, the resulting structure is linear structure. When we consider only one fault plane, it is called as planar structure. But when there are two fault planes which intersect each other, they form a structure which is called as linear structure. Such structures which are related with deformation of older rocks are known as lineations. These may be primary or secondary. As we have seen earlier, these structures formed as a result of deformation of the original rock, and they are known as lineations. These may be primary or secondary. It means that primary means they may formed at the time of the formation of the rock itself, or secondary means they may form after the formation of the original rock. If they are formed after the rock formation, they are called as secondary, and if they are formed at the time of the formation of the rock, they are called as primary. Hence, lineations may be primary or secondary. Now, as we have repeatedly told that these structures are formed by deformation of rock. What is deformation? And what is the reason behind the deformation of rock? The deformation means, as we have seen earlier, the wear and tear or bending, twisting, fracturing of the original intact rock. The rocks are constantly subjected to the forces that tend to bend them, twist them, or fracture them. And in this way, due to the action of these forces, they get deformed. They get deformed means change in their shape and size occurs. The original rock may be of different shape and size, and the resulting rock after deformation, it may have different shape and size, and it is called as deformation of rock. And the forces which are responsible for deformation are called as stresses. It is defined as force per unit area applied on that particular rock. Henceforth, we are going to call the deformative force as a stress. There are different types of stresses. There is not a single force acting on the rock. Instead, there are different types of stresses as follows. First, uniform stress. Uniform means the intensity of the force is equal in all directions. The force acts equally in all directions. Differential stress, as the name suggests, the forces or intensity of forces is unequal in different directions. Forces are unequal in different directions, and they are called as differential stresses. There are three major types of differential stresses. First is compressive stress. Compressive means it causes compression, or it tries to compress the rock, means push together stress, and it causes shortening of the crust. Crust means the uppermost layer of the earth's surface. It is called as crust. And when a compressive stress acts on this crust, it tries to compress the rocks which forms crust, and hence shortening of the crust occurs. Such types of stresses are called as compressive stress. Second type of differential stress is tensile stress. Tensile means it tries to pull apart the rock from each other, and hence they causes stretching or elongation of the crust. Instead of trying to compress, they act in exactly opposite direction, that is they tries to pull apart the different types of rocks which are present on the earth's crust, and hence the rocks get elongated or get stretched, causing elongation of the crust. Third type of differential stress is shear stress. It causes slippage of the rocks past another. The rock gets slipped from their original position, and the responsible force is called as shear stress. Due to action of these different types of forces or stresses, whether they may be uniform or differential, whether they may be compressive or tensile or shear types of stresses, as a reaction, the strain develops in the particular rock which gets subjected to the stress. This is the definition of strain. Changes in size or shape of the rock is called as strain. As a result of deformation, or as a result to the stresses applied on the rock, it changes its size and shape. That is, strain gets developed in the rock. The strain occurs when stress exceeds rock strength. The strain occurs when every rock has a tendency to oppose the stresses. It is called as elasticity. When the stresses exceeds the elastic limit of the rock, strain occurs in that particular rock. Topography. This is one of the most important term in structural geology. Topography describes the physical features present in a particular area of land. Means when we describe whether the area is hilly, means hilly terrain, or when we say that there are different valleys, or there are mountains, or lakes, or rivers, or plateaus, at that time we describe the topography of the area. Means it is the description of the physical features present in the particular area. Sometimes while making topographic maps, man-made features or artificial features such as roads, dams, towns, cultivated fields, railway tracks, post offices, temples, all these man-made features may also be included in that particular area. Topography also records elevation, that is the height of the particular area from mean sea level. While we are studying topographic map, we often see elevations or height from mean sea level. Thus, topography is very crucial term in structural geology, as it describes the different types of physical features, whether these may be valleys or mountains or hills or plateaus or any other kind of feature, or sometimes man-made features also, and along with its height from mean sea level. All these features collectively called as topography of the particular area. Thus, in today's lecture, we have seen some introductory part of structural geology. means definition of structural geology and definition of linear and planar structures, then definition of the forces which causes these structures or deformation in the rock, their subtypes, and topography. This is the picture of normal fault. We are going to study further in this paper faults, folds, unconformities, and joints. This is one of the type of fault called as normal fault. And this is another structural feature, angular unconformity. It is present in Grand Canyon area, USA. It is one of the important types of unconformity. We are going to study it further in the next lecture. Thank you.